Princess Charlotte walked into Windsor Hall with half her hair missing, and according to Royal Guard Oliver Grant, Prince William looked more terrified in that moment than the night the palace nearly collapsed, because only minutes before the royal ceremony began, Charlotte had locked herself inside her suite with a pair of scissors, and when she finally opened the door, the Princess William spent 20 years carefully controlling was gone. The royal ceremony that evening was supposed to restore the monarchy's image. For weeks, the palace had suffered one scandal after another. Charlotte's emotional outbursts, her secret relationship, rumors, public tension with William. The media had become relentless. So Windsor Hall planned the perfect royal appearance, elegant ballroom, international diplomats. Live press coverage. And at the center of it all, Princess Charlotte. According to palace staff, William controlled every detail personally: the dress, the speech, the cameras, even Charlotte's hairstyle, because he wanted the world to see her exactly one way: graceful. Beautiful. Royal. But only hours before the ceremony, everything shattered. Oliver Grant had been guarding Charlotte's private hallway when he suddenly heard something crash inside her room. Then silence, a long silence. Grant knocked immediately. Charlotte? No answer. Then finally, the door slowly opened. And Grant froze. Princess Charlotte stood barefoot in front of him, wearing a black silk robe, her breathing shaky, eyes red from crying. Scattered across the marble floor behind her were huge pieces of her hair, long strands everywhere. Bathroom sink still dripping beside a pair of silver scissors. Grant stared at her in shock, because Charlotte's beautiful royal hair was gone, cut brutally short above her shoulders. Uneven. Messy. Deliberate. Not fashionable. Not elegant. A complete act of destruction. Charlotte quietly looked at him. Well? Grant struggled to answer, because honestly, she looked like someone who had just escaped prison. Then Charlotte whispered softly, "He can't turn me into her anymore." Grant immediately understood she meant Diana. And William. Within minutes, palace stylists rushed into the suite and nearly panicked seeing her. One woman gasped loudly. Another started crying instantly, because the ceremony was less than 2 hours away. One stylist whispered desperately, "The prince is going to lose his mind." Charlotte calmly sat in front of the mirror. "I know." Then she smiled, and according to Oliver Grant, that smile frightened him more than the haircut itself, because it looked peaceful, like Charlotte had already made a decision nobody else could stop. 20 minutes later, Prince William arrived. Fast. Furious. Palace staff moved out of his way immediately. When he entered the suite, he stopped dead. Complete silence filled the room. William stared at Charlotte, like he didn't recognize her, then finally whispered, "What have you done?" Charlotte slowly turned toward him. "What I should have done years ago." William's face darkened. Immediately, "You look ridiculous." Charlotte laughed softly, and that made him even angrier. "This ceremony is being watched by the entire world." Charlotte stepped closer. "Exactly." William lowered his voice sharply. "You embarrassed this family." But Charlotte's expression suddenly changed. All the pain she'd buried for years finally surfaced at once. "No." Her voice cracked emotionally. "You embarrassed me." Silence. Even the stylists stopped breathing. Charlotte looked directly into William's eyes. "For my entire life," she whispered, "you decided who I was allowed to be." William didn't answer, because deep down, he knew she was right. Charlotte touched the short, uneven hair beside her face. "But this?" Tears slowly rolled down her cheeks. "This was finally my choice." William looked genuinely shaken now. Not furious anymore. Afraid. Because for the first time, Charlotte no longer looked controlled, she looked free, still. The ceremony couldn't be cancelled, not with reporters already inside Windsor Hall. So 1 hour later, Princess Charlotte walked into the ballroom, and the entire room visibly gasped. Foreign diplomats froze. Mid-conversation. Royal guests whispered instantly. Camera flashes exploded across the palace, because nobody had ever seen Charlotte look like this before. Sharp, cold, untouchable. Even George looked completely stunned watching her descend the staircase. But according to Oliver Grant, Prince William looked devastated, not because of the hair itself, because he realized what it meant. Charlotte no longer cared about the royal image. Or his approval, or the palace. Throughout the ceremony, reporters couldn't stop staring at her. Some called it rebellion, others called it emotional collapse, but Charlotte remained calm the entire evening. Until one reporter finally asked the question everyone wanted answered. Princess Charlotte, why did you cut your hair before tonight's ceremony? The ballroom fell silent instantly. Everyone waited for a royal excuse. Instead, Charlotte smiled softly, then quietly answered, because I wanted to see myself again. The room exploded with camera flashes. George lowered his head emotionally. Even Kate looked close to tears. But William? According to Oliver Grant, William looked like a man realizing he had already lost his daughter long before tonight. Later that night, palace staff reportedly found William alone inside Charlotte's empty dressing room, staring silently at the strands of hair scattered across the floor. And according to one servant, he whispered only one sentence, I don't know how to reach her anymore. But the truth was far worse. Because for the first time in her life, Princess Charlotte no longer wanted him to. If you enjoyed this emotional royal drama story, leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Do you think Charlotte cutting her hair was emotional rebellion, or the moment she finally reclaimed control of her own identity? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more hidden royal scandals, emotional palace drama, and shocking Windsor Hall secrets.